Saturday, February 24th, 1940. The Wehrmacht High Command reports. In the west, the day was quiet. French aircraft flew over the German western border several times, but were forced to turn back by immediately deploying German fighter and anti-aircraft defenses. Our own aircraft, which reconnoitered into France, encountered strong enemy anti-aircraft and fighter defenses in several places. They were still able to carry out their orders and reach their home airports without any losses. Sunday, February 25th, 1940. The Wehrmacht High Command reports local artillery and scout troop activity between Mosel and Pfälzerwald. In the air, weak reconnaissance activity and surveillance on the German-French border and over the German Bight. A French and a British plane were shot down. There were no losses of our own. During the first 5 months of the war, up to February 20th, 1940, 496 enemy and neutral merchant ships carrying banned goods for England with a total weight of 1,810,315 gross registered tons were sunk through the use of naval warfare means. Monday, February 26th, 1940. The Wehrmacht High Command reports. In the west, there was little local artillery fire as well as reconnaissance activity on both sides in the air. Our own surveillance on the Western Front and over the German Bight remained without enemy contact. A French Poté 63 aircraft was shot down by anti-aircraft artillery in the Eifel. A submarine under the command of Captain Lieutenant Herbert Schultz has returned from long-distance patrol and reported the sinking of 34,130 gross registered tons. This submarine has now sunk a total of 16 ships with 114,510 gross tons. Tuesday, February 27, 1940. The Wehrmacht High Command reports no special events. Wednesday, February 28, 1940. The Wehrmacht High Command reports. In the Pearl area, close to the east of the Mosel, an attack by a stronger enemy strike force with artillery support was successfully repelled this night. On the night of February 26th to 27th, the German Air Force made extensive advances into French airspace, with several aircraft also flying over Paris for a long time. The Air Force reconnaissance carried out on February 27th over the North Sea and the British Islands, and on a limited scale against France, encountered strong enemy defenses at various points. 2 German planes did not return from their flight against England. An English Bristol Blenheim reconnaissance aircraft was shot down. Thursday, February 29, 1940. The Wehrmacht High Command reports. The enemy suffered losses in local scouting operations in the border area west of Merzig and northwest of Weissenberg, and had to leave several prisoners in our hands. On the night of February 27th to 28th, a few enemy aircraft flew into northwest Germany, including 2 over the Dutch-German border. On February 28th, there was little flying activity. The Luftwaffe only carried out border surveillance flights. Friday, March 1st, 1940. The Wehrmacht High Command reports. In the west, local artillery and scout activity. As already announced in a special report, a submarine that had returned from a long-distance patrol and was under the command of Captain Lieutenant Werner Hartmann reported the sinking of 45,000 gross registered tons. The submarine has thus reached the total sinking figure of 80,000 gross registered tons in 2 operations. On February 29th, the Luftwaffe again carried out reconnaissance flights over eastern France and the North Sea, despite unfavorable weather conditions. Saturday, March 2nd, 1940. The Wehrmacht High Command reports. No special events in the west. The Luftwaffe carried out reconnaissance flights over the entire North Sea up to the Orkney Islands. German aircraft successfully attacked English warships and merchant ships traveling under English escort at various points. 1 ship sank immediately and another suffered significant fire damage. Another 4 ships have been hit so badly by bombs that their loss is likely. After a night flight over northwest Germany, an enemy aircraft flew back over Dutch territory near Nijmegen on the morning of March 1st. Half-annual report of the Wehrmacht High Command of March 2nd, 1940. After 6 months of warfare on land, at sea, and in the air, the military result can be stated. In a campaign lasting 18 days, the Polish Wehrmacht was crushed, the Polish divisions were destroyed, and the territory of the former Polish state up to the German-Russian border of interests occupied. This thwarted the enemy's intention to force Germany into a two-front war in the shortest possible time. In the west, the Siegfried Line was occupied as planned and extended to the coast. At no point did the enemy dare to even advance into the area of influence of the Siegfried Line, let alone attack it. In bold reconnaissance and raiding missions, the German army has repeatedly demonstrated its aggressive spirit and demonstrated the high level of its training and equipment. Wherever the enemy tried to penetrate German territory in advance of the Siegfried Line, army units quickly threw them back to their original position. After the destruction of Polish naval power, with the exception of the units that had fled before the start of the campaign or were later interned in neutral ports, the German Navy waged the sea war against England and France with increasing vigor and success. In the North Sea, in addition to securing the maritime area and protecting German trade, the focus was on the trade war with surface and underwater forces. At the same time, mine attacks were carried out on the sea areas of the English east and west coast. The ironclads Admiral Graf Spee and Deutschland were deployed in the Atlantic for cruiser warfare. During advances into the North Atlantic, which were also carried out with heavy forces, considerable damage could be inflicted on the enemy. As a result of German naval warfare, the following were destroyed: the battleship Royal Oak, the aircraft carrier Courageous, the auxiliary cruiser Rawalpindi, the 8 destroyers Blanche, Gipsy, Duchess, Grenville, Exmouth, Viscount, Daring, and Jersey, as well as around 20 war vehicles from the outpost, minesweeping and boat hunting service, these with the participation of air forces as well as several submarines. The battleship Nelson, the battleship Barham, the battlecruiser Repulse, the heavy cruiser Exeter, a heavy cruiser of the London class, the cruiser Belfast, and a large number of destroyers, picket boats, and submarines were seriously damaged. During the same period, 532 ships, with 1,904,913 gross register tons of enemy and enemy-serving neutral merchant ship tonnage were destroyed. Compared to these successes, our own losses were small. They are 1 ironclad, 2 destroyers, 6 outposts or minesweepers, and 11 submarines, i.e. a monthly average of 2 submarines. The German Air Force played an outstanding role in the victorious outcome of the Polish campaign. At the same time as the Polish Air Force was destroyed, it secured with other parts the German airspace in the west. Its superiority in terms of the operational readiness of the crews and the quality of the material was repeatedly apparent. The reconnaissance flights carried out against England and France, even in the most unfavorable weather conditions, supplemented the existing documents about the enemy's actions. In the reconnaissance against England, the German aircraft repeatedly made it to the Orkney and Shetland Islands despite enemy resistance. Repeated attacks were carried out on enemy naval forces, armed merchant ships, and convoys. 65 ships with around 75,000 gross registered tons were sunk. The majority of these are enemy merchant ships or neutral merchant ships carrying banned goods for England, as well as some ships from the British light naval forces. 52 ships, with around 200,000 tons, were also seriously damaged and partially destroyed by bomb hits, of which 40 British ships of light naval forces, 2 British cruisers of 15,300 tons, 2 British battleships of 63,350 tons, 1 British aircraft carrier of 22,600 tons. Since the beginning of the war, German air defense and ground organization have been fully expanded to the planned extent. The Flight Reporting Service has been established and tested, and air raid protection measures and air raid shelters have been perfected throughout the Reich. Wherever the enemy tried to fly into German territory with stronger units, they were successfully repelled by hunting and anti-aircraft defense. A total of 285 British and French planes have been shot down so far. Add to this 50 aircraft from a British aircraft carrier, so that the total losses of the Western powers since the beginning of the war amount to at least 335 aircraft. 9 enemy captive balloons were also shot down. In contrast, during these 6 months, the German Air Force lost a total of 35 aircraft on the Western Front and over the British combat area due to direct enemy action, and 43 aircraft due to accidents on enemy flights, emergency landings, crashes, etc. Under the safe protection of the German Wehrmacht, the military strength of the 82 million people was able to be fully developed, and the Wehrmacht was further strengthened and expanded. The war experiences so far have been evaluated by the 3 branches of the Wehrmacht for the further conduct of the war, for training, and for the technical perfection of the material. The performance of the German armaments industry has not been reduced by the enemy blockade, but has been increased to a maximum. The strongest reserves of trained fighters of all kinds, as well as technical personnel, weapons and equipment are available for further use at the front and at home.
Join us also next Sunday for the subsequent Wehrmacht Reports. In the meantime, you can discover many more military history audiobooks on Major Antonio's YouTube channel. Thank you for listening, and so long.